live on YouTube. Hopefully there's some moderators there. We are live on YouTube. All right. We are live. Okay. Share. Okay, welcome. We were just talking about how there's so much knowledge increasing in this time and how almost ridiculous it's getting. Like if you're scrolling every day, you're just overwhelmed with information. And a lot of the time, these people that are giving you this information, they're not really researching. Their goal is to go viral and be popular and get famous or whatever their goal is. It's likes and views. It's not to have necessarily accurate information and information that's helpful to you. I literally commented on a video today about Valentine's Day, and this Christian girl was doing the formula, we all know the formula to go viral. And she was doing it about St. Valentine. And I commented, you did all this research on St. Valentine and you never figured out that he didn't really exist, that it was a farce, and that even the Catholics have told us now, the Roman Catholic Church has told us now that St. Valentine doesn't exist, never existed. There's no historical record. Like most saints, by the way, most of the saints that the Catholic Church has icons of and has their nonsense to never existed. Go research it. There's no early records. There's no art that existed during their lifetime. I have not, every single one that I have researched thus far, okay? There might be some of them that did exist. Every single one that I have researched thus far did not exist. And so St. Valentine, St. Nicholas, nope, didn't exist. Didn't exist. As far as do the research and you'll find out that he came to be about 400 years after the fact. So about 400 years later, after the fact, there started to be writings about St. Nicholas. So while he was alive doing all the things that he supposedly did, nobody wrote about him, nobody drew a painting of him, nobody wrote him down, nobody carved him into a wall anywhere, nobody did a tile mosaic anywhere during his lifetime while he was doing all these amazing things. But then 400 years later, they started talking about it. Okay, so it's all made up. St. Valentine, same thing. The interesting thing about St. Valentine, though, is that the Catholic Church actually admitted to it in like the 1600s, and they actually took him out of their records at that time. I was going to do a video on this, but I never got around to it. But anyways, so this is what I'm telling you guys. You got all these people on the internet. And yes, there is new information coming out. There's really interesting things coming out. And it's fascinating and eye-opening for sure. But if you're just ingesting everything, like you will tire yourself out. Like I was saying, I saw today about cheetahs aren't real. They don't have the way that their DNA works is it's the exact same clone-like DNA throughout cheetahs, right? I haven't researched this. I have not fact-checked this yet. But apparently they seem to be a hybrid between a cat and a greyhound dog. Wild, right? So all of this information is just coming out constantly. And that's why I say, like, how can you say that we're not in the time that Daniel said, where the knowledge would increase? So Daniel said the knowledge would increase and many would make themselves clean, their garments clean, and seek righteousness deeper. And we're all feeling that. You guys that are here with me all the time, you're feeling that. You're like feeling that desire to go deeper and to avoid more of the world and to avoid the things of the world even more. And it's a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing. And that's what Daniel said would happen. the knowledge would increase, and some people would grow deeper in righteousness. And then let's just read it. It's Daniel. I'll just have to Google it quick because I don't remember the verse. Daniel, knowledge will increase. Daniel 12. Huh. I was always going to almost say, I know like it sounds really braggy, but I was almost going to say I think it's Daniel 12. But like I've been doing this so long, I actually like remember where some of this stuff is sometimes, like off the top of my head. That's wild. It took me forever to figure out 1 John 3:4. I always want to quote 1 John 3:4, and then I would never remember where it is. And so I would just kind of quote it. But like over time, when you study and you start to look up this stuff, you start to reference it, like you'll start to just remember. I always used to be so impressed with those people that remember it. I was never that person, but it's starting to stick now, I guess. Okay. At that time, Michael, the great prince, who is in charge of your people, there will be a time of trouble. At that time shall arise Michael, the great prince, who is in charge of your people. So Michael is the archangel in charge of Daniel's people, which would be Israel, right? And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never has been seen since there was a nation till that time. Since there was a nation, so any nation till that time. But at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. Everyone, so everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. So that's everyone. And so people often reflect back on this and say, oh, this has already happened, but has everyone whose name been written in the book? Has that happened for everyone? Right? Many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life and some till everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above. Where's the knowledge? Oh, there it is. Okay. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever. So those who are turning those others to righteousness. Righteousness in Hebrew, we should just look that up because it's kind of an important word. Sadiq. I think that's how you say it. Strong 6663. Okay. Let's look it up on Blue Letter Bible because they have the way to say it.
Strong's H 6663. Sadak.
I think that's where the reference to says Zadik, like the priesthood, the righteous. I think that's where that comes from. Obviously, looks like it fits. To have a just cause, to be in the right, to be justified, to be just, to be righteous in conduct and character. So the verb, so kal, okay, so you guys, for a quick little Hebrew, kal means verb. So the verb, you are acting justly. So if you are being righteous, you are acting in just. Sorry, Brandy's interrupting me with her cheetah talk still. So you're acting in a righteous manner, right? So you can be righteous by position, be made righteous in Yeshua, right? By his covering, he makes you righteous. But then there's also acting just and righteous and turning others to righteousness. So here we have, so in the second understanding is to be put or made right, to be justified. We are justified by faith, but we as a verb act righteous, right? All right. this is interesting too. So this is kind of like the deeper understanding, and this is what I think, like if you really understand the Torah and you've been kind of chewing on the Torah for a while, this part will start to make more sense. To do or bring righteousness and justice in administering the law. And so a lot of people look at the Torah and they see it in a very negative way, but they don't look deeper. And I noticed this recently is like, you know how it says to somebody, oh, I don't want to misquote this. I don't even know where to start to search this though. It'll seem like evil. The Torah will seem evil to somebody who doesn't understand it. It'll, like, at first glance, it'll look really evil, but when you look slightly deeper, you'll see the maneuver at play that Father is doing to bring about righteousness. For example, let's just go with a really, really simple example. What's a good example? Okay, this is one example that, it's people break up a lot. And I have to watch my words because I don't want to get censored on TikTok or YouTube. So the law where if a man, let's just look it up, Torah. I just want the verse, guys. They give you like all this, like, I just want the verse. Just give me the verse. Okay, Deuteronomy 22:28. If a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not engaged, and seizes her and lies with her, and they are discovered, uh, then the man who lay with her shall give the girl's father 50 shekels of silver, the bride price, and she shall become his wife because he has violated her, and he cannot divorce her all her days. Okay, so at first glance, if you are a North American regular person, you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Okay, but if you understand Hebrew and you understand the context, this is not just about him raping her, right? He seized her, he seduced her. Okay, so this word seized is a different word than the word that they use for like the other more violent act. Okay, the violent act has a certain word. This word seize is more of like a seduction type word. Okay, so you get that if you read the entire context of all the different commands together, because there's other commands for that. Okay, now what's interesting about this is, like, if you look at it at face value, you're dealing with a culture that is very different than our culture, but these things might still apply. Imagine today if men knew, right? Like your regular, I'm trying not to I try to use the right words, okay? Your regular guy that likes to seduce women and manipulate them to get what he wants out of them, okay? You know the word for those guys, right? Imagine if we were living in a society where he knew that if he did that to a young lady who was innocent, who probably was easily manipulated, she's 16 years old or whatever, she's not schooled in the way that the world works, right? And he comes along, he's 26, and he manipulates her, takes her virginity. He has no intention of marrying her. He has no intention of taking care of her. He has no intention of being a good husband to her, right? But he wants what he wants. Imagine if we lived in a society where he knew he would have to pay the bride price and he'd have to become her husband and he could never divorce her. Would he think twice about seducing the young maiden, right? And so this is what I'm talking about, like these commands, if you don't study the full context and you don't sift through, because there's other commands for other things, right? at first glance, to somebody who hasn't really studied, it's going to look like really jarring and shocking. Like, oh, that poor girl, he seized her and lied with her. Now she has to be his wife. But the other side of it is this understanding that it's going to prevent a lot of that from happening, right? It's the same thing. How deep do you want to get into this? It's the same thing with the stoning of the children. There's no record that that commandment was ever, there's no record in Jewish sources that ever did it come to having to stone a child. Why did that command exist if it was never going to be used? Because just the fact that that command existed prevented people from acting crazy. It kept order. And now there was also, they would have to go through judges and the elders before it would even get to that point. So imagine if you're an unruly child that is stealing, that is doing things that just your parents just cannot get a hold of you. And eventually you have to go before the elder council. You have to go to a court of law. You have to go through this process, right? Which could end in, like, if you don't figure it out, okay, well, you're not willing to figure it out. You're just going to go down this path forever. There's checks and balances to get you on the right path, right? But when people read that, they don't understand the checks and balances, right? And what's the deeper happening? Remember, they were still under the law. They didn't have Yeshua who could get rid of the demons, who could cause the demons to flee. They didn't have that authority, right? So if a child was not willing to really get in line, he would keep going down, right? And what happens when people, we see this now in our society. What do we see in our society now? We see this now in our society where people get these ideas in their head and they start spreading it like wildfire, and it rots everybody else, and they take everybody else with them. They take all the other children in the high school with them down this nasty road of destruction. Sin equals death. If you sin for long enough, it will equal death, right? You fornicate long enough, you're going to get a disease, you're going to die, right? You do certain things long enough, it will destroy your life. And so when you have these situations where the sin, so one person is bringing the sin in and saying, hey, try this, do this, try this. And then all of a sudden, all the other little kids are joining in. All the other teenagers are joining in. And they're all like, oh, yeah, let's try this. Let's do this. And then it spreads like a disease throughout the entire society. We are watching that and we're living it right now. You see the results of that happening, right? So when we look at these commands and we say, like, oh, that's so harsh. It's so hard. What's harsher? Letting children, their entire lives be destroyed, their destinies be stolen from them, their future marriage and their future children being stolen from them because they've been convinced of things that aren't true, and they've been convinced to live in sin, and now their entire destiny, their future children, are stolen from them, or dealing with the problem, right? And so you have to kind of like weigh these balances. You have to really spend your time, and that's why we chew on the Torah. That's why we meditate on the different ideas and principles, so we can learn how to think through these things as fair judges. Like, what's really going on here? What's the outcome of this situation? I had a friend many years ago. We're no longer friends, and she was getting involved with a married man, and she was married. And this is the thing that actually destroyed our friendship, because I was growing closer to the Lord at that time, and she was on this path where she was getting involved with a married man, and she herself was married. And I sat her down one day and I was like, what's the trajectory of this? Like, if you're going to shoot an arrow and you're going to aim for the target, what are you aiming for in this situation? Like, what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as you guys continue this relationship or whatever it is you guys are doing? And like, she really just didn't care. It was more about the instant gratification. And that, and said like there's like no thought. And so what the Torah teaches us to do, what the commandments teach us to do, is to think about the society, to think about how it affects your community, how it affects your children, how it affects your marriage, how it affects your children's future marriages. That's what the Torah teaches you to do, because you have to sit there and think like, yeah, if I seduce a young woman and I don't want to actually marry her, I'm taking something from her that's not mine. I'm taking and I'm hurting her in a way that I'm not willing to pay the price for, right? And so that's what the Torah causes you to do. It causes you to deeply contemplate what sin really does and what it really is. And sometimes I think that Yehovah made these commandments specifically this delicate to understand. Like I think he wrote it in a confusing way on purpose. I think Paul is confusing on purpose because Paul forces you to actually deal with the dichotomy, to deal with the weights and balances, right? Same with the Torah. It teaches you to deal with the weights and balances of what is going on here. What are all the things? What are all the moving parts? It's training you to use your mind. And in this day of AI, where people are just, and children are just, and they're just getting fed information, and you're scrolling and you're being fed information, you're not learning how to use your judgment. You're not learning how to use your own mind. You're not learning how to, you know what I mean, you guys? Like it's that deep. Is it that deep? Yeah, it is that deep. Studying the Torah teaches you how to use your brain. It teaches you good judgment. It teaches you how to use weights and measures in every matter. I've had so many experiences talking to mainstream Christians that do away with the Torah. And they've never studied the Torah. They've never read the Torah. They've never chewed on the Torah. And they do slander, they do gossip, and they do it in ways where they think they're doing a good thing. They stitch videos out of context and they make these big things where they just tear people to pieces. They tear another Christian to shreds in their little video, taking things out of context and even talking about things that they don't even understand, right? And they think they're right. But in their thinking that they're right, they don't even realize that they're sinning, that they're violating commandments while they're doing this big show and dance about how what a good like Jesus loving Christian they are, right? And they don't see the nuance to it. And I think the biggest thing too, about another big thing, I wouldn't say the biggest thing, is the nuance. The nuance of the commands. You learn that nuance by studying them and doing them. When you wear tzitzits, you figure out quickly why you wear tzitzits, right? When you stop eating unclean food, you quickly understand why you've stopped eating. Like it starts to make sense as you walk in it and as you do it, right? Sabbath was the big one for me. I feel like Sabbath is the big one because it shouldn't be a burden. It shouldn't be something that's really argued, but it is. It's like a stronghold. And I think it's because it's a demonic stronghold, but also it's like it's a bit of a sacrifice. Like it's like you're laying down your life. You're laying down. Most sports events happen on Sabbath. A lot of classes happen on Sabbath. A lot of the things that you would want to do happen on Sabbath. And what are we told in Isaiah? It's like when you lay down even your idle words, speaking your own heart and speaking it from your flesh and doing your own pleasures, that's when you will rise, right? When you do it on the Sabbath. I'm talking about Isaiah 58, if you guys don't know that reference. And I was thinking about this morning. And I was thinking about this morning. One thing that Father has been teaching me lately is really containing my words and being careful what I speak. And also in my mind, like, don't curse people in your mind. Like, when you are being stinky about somebody in your own head, that is creating, that is doing that is cursing that person. So speaking it, yeah, that's even worse. But when you're doing it in your mind, right, and you're not praying and blessing and um, lifting that person up, you're actually cursing them, right? And so you're doing an evil to them. And so Father has been really showing me this. And like, think about, let's go to Isaiah 58, what he says here. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we'll cover the whole thing later. Okay, it's just, that's so good. Like, the whole thing is so good. Okay, but this is what I'm talking about. Okay. Let's start with Isaiah. So it talks about a bad fast where you're just doing it for your own benefit. You're doing it for show. Okay. And then he's talking about a good fast. Isaiah 58:6. And I do believe that this is about the Yom Kippur Sabbath in a greater way, like as a metaphor. But let's just read it as for any Sabbath, right? Isaiah 58:6. Is this not the fast that I choose, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free? What's a fast? A fast is a time of suppressing your flesh. Oh, it just popped up right here. Let me see. Is this not the live click? Live click fast. Abstain from food in mourning, in intercession, in contrition. Okay. State of fasting, causing physical weakness, making yourself physically weak for the sake of another purpose, right? Instead of going about on your strength and elevating yourself, fasting, and think of it metaphorically, not just literally like giving up food, but metaphorically. When you're fasting, you're humbling yourself to lift others up. And that's what he's speaking about here. Is this not the fast that I choose, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke? Now, when you're thinking in your mind curses towards another person because they have less understanding than you. So let's say you guys disagree theology wise. And so you're like, stupid Christian, blah, 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 and you're thinking in your mind, whatever, like, you are actually yoking that person to your cursed thoughts. Okay. But if you're coming from a deeper place, a deeper understanding as a priest of the Most High God, as a royal priesthood, you have to understand that you can cover that person in your grace and mercy. You can cover that person in your grace and mercy. And you can say, they don't understand yet. And you can pray that they will have understanding. And you can pray that they will have whatever bond of wickedness on them, that it will be removed. And you can bless them in your words and thoughts. And yeah, you want to argue and debate and da 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 da, but that's your flesh. Your flesh wants to argue and debate. The spirit wants that person to be released from the bonds of wickedness. Does that make sense? And so that's the next level, right? Arguing Torah and arguing commandments and arguing theology is still operating from your flesh. You're still in your flesh. Yes, speak truth, but ask questions. Ask them what they think. Try to meet them where they're at. And then that will get you'll get a lot more. Like I've had so many times where I've started to have like a discussion with somebody who disagreed with me. And if I go at it like, well, this and that, and they will just quote Galatians at me. But if I ask them questions like, well, what do you think about this? Then how do you recognize this and that? And how do you put these two together? What that does is it causes them to go out and study because they start to need to answer those questions for themselves. Okay. And that's how you loose the bonds of wickedness, right? If that and through prayer. Verse 7, is it not to share your bread with the hungry? What is bread? The word of God, right? The bread is the word of God. Breaking the bread is that understanding of breaking the word of God open, right? And so, yes, it's Yeshua too. Like, don't get me wrong there, but it's like the bread of life is Yeshua, the word of God. So you want to share that bread with the hungry. If this person coming at you and they're like, they don't have a lot of bread, you know what I'm saying? As far as spiritual understanding of what the scriptures say, like they're still kind of at a really basic level. You got to share your bread. They're hungry and they don't even know they're hungry. So just share it gently and be like, here, have a little piece of bread. Does that make sense, you guys? Like you don't hit them over the head with the bread. You're like, oh, break off a little piece. Hey, try this, and try to get them to like understand that they're still hungry. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? Literal and metaphorical. It's all literal. When you see the naked, cover him. Okay. When you see somebody who is still kind of walking around uncovered, they don't understand. They have a dirty, soiled covering. Maybe they know Jesus, but their covering is really dirty and they're still acting sloppy. They're still really soiling their garments, sardis. Then you cover them. You show them grace and mercy. You often hear like people talk like, oh, you should, when women come to church and they're not dressed appropriately or like whatever, like, and they kind of judge and they're really, but your job is to cover them, and you don't need to like shame them. So when you shame someone, you're uncovering them, right? You're exposing them, you're shaming them. That's not our job. Our job is to cover them and guide them gently and carefully, right? So say you have a woman who's dressed like really half naked at the gym or whatever. It's hard for even me not to look because it's like so much, right? But keep your eyes to yourself. Ignore, cover them by not looking, right? That's one way, right? And so when you see a person who doesn't get it yet, you don't point the finger of shame, you become the cover for them and you pray and you intercede. Your prayers cover them, your intercessions cover them, right? And not to hide yourself from your own flesh. So look at your own flesh too. So your flesh, you want to shame that other person because they're dressed inappropriately, but your flesh is the flesh that's looking and being like, oh, and like checking it out, right? So you're hiding from your own flesh by trying to shame them instead of averting your eyes, covering them in prayer, blessing them, trying to set them free, interceding for them. Does that make sense? Then shall your light break forth like the dawn. This matches Daniel. Then shall your light break forth like the dawn. What did Daniel say? Daniel 12. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above. And those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. It always matches, guys. It always matches. Wild how that happens. And your healing shall spring up speedily. And your healing shall spring up speedily, with haste. Your righteousness shall go before you. It matches Daniel exactly. And the glory of Jehovah shall be your rear guard. And then you shall call, and Jehovah will answer. And you shall cry, and he will say, here I am. This is key. And Father has been teaching me this in the last few years. The more that you're able to do this and stay out of your flesh on things, and just be a priest to people, just be an intercessor to people, the faster he answers, the quicker he answers. And you will start to notice, you will pray for an answer and you'll get it within a day or two. You'll get it within a day. You'll pray for something, it'll come quick. Why was Yeshua able to speak to the fish, speak to the fish, and they just showed up? Because he understood this. He was this. He embodied this 100%. He had perfect balanced judgment from heaven above. And so I've often thought about it. Okay, so why are Christians suffering from lack and suffering in all these ways and suffering from needing healing in all this way? Heavenly Father, I just pray for Pamela, and I just pray, Father, that you send her $42 for her heart medication, ASAP, in Yeshua's name. Amen. So why was he able to just go to get the gold coin out of the fish's mouth, and the gold coin appeared? Because he understood to stay in this place of perfect judgment, perfect communion with the Father. And so he was never asking for his own benefit. He was never asking so that he could do X, Y, and Z. He was always asking with pure motive. I think James talks about this too. You're asking with the wrong motive. Sometimes you ask and it's with the wrong motive because you just want the things of the flesh. But if you're asking for with true motives and with a true heart, he's not going to withhold from you. Okay. And so that's how this all ties together. Then you shall call and Jehovah will answer. You shall cry and he will say, here I am. And if you take away the yoke from your midst, let's look up this word yoke. I feel like that's important to understand. I mean, I know we understand what a yoke is, but sometimes there's a deeper picture for bearing things, a pole for bearing arcs, oppression, impoverished. So taking away the impoverished states of people, whatever that it is that they're bearing, that's too heavy on them that they're bearing. If you take that away from people, carry their load for them, take some of that load away from them, right? So if you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and the spreading of wickedness, the pointing of the finger is important because a lot of the church is doing this constantly, pointing the finger, and I'm guilty. I'm coming from a place, I'm definitely guilty. Pointing of the finger and speaking wickedness. And if you pour yourself out for the hungry and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness and your gloom be as noonday. Daniel 12, exact reference to Daniel 12. And Jehovah will guide you continually and satisfy your desire in scorched places. So even if the earth is scorched, he will satisfy your desire. What's a desire? Oh, interesting. It's one of those things that's not coming up in Hebrew. Isaiah 58:11. Isaiah 58:11. If somebody has $42, just send it to Pamela. Like just get her PayPal. I would do it, but I'm in the midst of something. Okay. The command is that if people ask, just do it. Like it's not our money. So somebody, if you have it, just send it to her. Okay. Isaiah 11. Satisfy your desire. So I want to look up satisfy your desire in Hebrew. Satisfy be sated, hispa. Satisfy your bones. Your bones. Do you guys know how cool that is? So, okay, English. Boo, English. Boo, everybody. Boo, English. Okay. I want you guys to catch this. If you pour yourself out to the hungry and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness, and your gloom shall be as noonday. And Jehovah will guide you continually and satisfy your bones. It says satisfy your desire, but it's satisfy your bones in scorched places and make your bones strong. I might have that wrong. Maybe that's wrong because it says bones after. Scorched, satisfy. No, I'm wrong. It just says satisfy. It doesn't say desire. I guess satisfy is a desire. But your bones in scorched places. Okay, so bones in scorched places. What is that a reference to? Ezekiel 37. Dry bones. The dry bones. You get bitter, dry bones. This is where arthritis and a lot of these things come from. Bitter, dry bones come from being too, I don't want to point the finger at anybody that might have issues, but when you focus outward, it heals your bones. Let's put it that way. When you focus on others, it heals you. It nourishes you. If you focus on yourself, it will dry you out. You'll get dried out. Satiety, abundance, satisfying abundance, satisfying abundance. Okay, going back. And Jehovah will guide you, lead you continually. So he will constantly be leading you, and he will constantly be satisfying your desire, even if you are in a scorched place, even if the entire earth is scorched. If you catch this and if you can do this, he will satisfy every desire in even scorched places and make your bones strong, your skeleton strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water. Tabernacle references, that's tabernacles references. We talked about that last week. Whose waters do not fail. So you have the living water flowing through you constantly because you're constantly in this state. You're uninterruptedly in this state of watering other people. And this will cause that flow to flow through you. And your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt, and you shall rise up on the foundation. You shall rise up the foundations of many generations. So you shall actually heal the generations moving forward. And you shall be called repairer of the breach and the restorer of streets to dwell in. And this is New Jerusalem language. I know if you're new here, a lot of these references are not going to make sense to you. But yeah, just trust me, bro. I hate to say trust me, bro, but like water garden, springs of water, tabernacles reference. Tabernacles, Yeshua reference. Tabernacling, you are connected to him at all times. Tabernacling with him. You're abiding in him. That's what those are referencing, okay? Ancient ruins is you are New Jerusalem. You are the pillars of New Jerusalem references. See Revelation 3, okay? Now to the Sabbath bit, okay? If you turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure, your work, your desire, the things that you want to do on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, oneg. What's a delight? An oneg, eneg, luxury, enjoyment, delight, a luxury, and enjoyment. Okay, and so this is where you have this dichotomy between hating the Sabbath, like a lot of people in the church just like are so opposed to the Sabbath, when we're told that if we call it a delight, if we delight in it, if we call it a luxury and an enjoyment, then you get to ride on the if you. So in the Bible, there's a lot of if you thens. Okay. If you understand that the Sabbath is a delight and a luxury and an enjoyment and honorable, if you, then I will make you ride on the heights of the earth. I will make you ride on the heights of the earth. And if you were a mainstream Christian, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's a rapture reference. I'm not going there. But what I'm saying is, why are we missing this? Like, why do we miss this connection, right? So if you turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, a luxury, a pleasure, and the holy day, the set apart day of Yehovah, honorable, to be honored, a heavy, weighty thing to be honored, if you honor it, not going your own ways or seeking your own pleasure or talking idly, okay? And this is the one thing that I've been really reflecting on, because I am in no way good at this. I'm not good at this at all. I get scrolly, and I try not to, but I do. I get scrolly on the Sabbath. I do lots of things that I shouldn't be doing on the Sabbath, right? But if you honor it, not going your own ways and seeking your own pleasure or talking idly, so speaking nonsense words, talking about things you don't need to be talking about, then you shall take delight in Yehovah. So the purpose is to take that delight, enjoy his presence, and be delighting in him on the Sabbath day. That's what we should be doing, is we should be delighting in him for the Sabbath. And I will make you ride on the heights, the high places of the earth. And I will feed you with the heritage of Jacob, your father. From the mouth of Yehovah, for the mouth of Yehovah has spoken. For the mouth of Yehovah has spoken. What is the heritage of Jacob? The inheritance, the passing on of the blessing. So a lot of you experienced this. You didn't keep the Sabbath, and the Bible was like, you're like, oh, the Bible kind of contradicts, but I still believe in Jesus. I just ignore all this. I ignore the Old Testament. It doesn't make sense. I just ignore it. But then you were shown the Sabbath day, and you went and you decided for the first time to keep the Sabbath day set apart. You weren't perfect at it. You didn't really know what you were doing, but you made some sort of step towards keeping the Sabbath day set apart. And what happened? The seas parted, and you could see the other side. You could see all of a sudden, you were like that guy on the meme, that you could see all the connections. You're like, oh, when Jesus is doing this, it meant this, and this is what he's talking about here, and this is actually the Passover. It has nothing to do with Easter. And you started to make all those connections. And what was the thing that opened that door for you? For most people, it was the Sabbath day. They're like, oh, fourth commandment, why aren't we doing this? That's weird. And so they do it once, and then there's a bird outside my window. That was so cool. Big bird just like outside my window. Then that was the moment you were fed the heritage of Jacob, which is the Torah. You were started to be fed the Torah. You started to be fed the deeper understandings of the word. But it took your obedience for the seas to part. Whenever you see the seas parting in scripture, or you see things happening, there's usually this moment of obedience where you step forward in obedience, and then the seas part. And so if you have anything in your life where you're like, hey, Father seems to have promised me this, Father has said this, and it's not happening, take steps forward in obedience. Do the things that don't make sense anyways. Sorry, just a second. So like, let's say he's told you you're going to move. He hasn't told you where, he hasn't told you why, he hasn't given you the details, but he's kind of like said, like, you're moving soon. Okay, start packing. Start getting rid of stuff you don't need. Start selling stuff you don't need. Start doing the things Start doing the things that will prepare you for that, even though you don't know where you're going yet. You don't know why, you don't know how it's going to happen, but just step forward in obedience, because the obedience will light the path. The Torah is a light, it lights the path. Any obedience that you do will light a path, and you'll start to understand. Okay, we've kind of gone on a sidetrack. I don't know why. I don't remember why we got on a sidetrack, but that's okay. Isaiah 13. So Isaiah 13 to 17 is about Babylon falling, which I think we're in the midst of right now. So it's really interesting. We're watching an episode of Babylon falling, whether it's the final episode, whether it's the season finale of Babylon, or it's just one episode of Babylon falling for a period of time. I don't know. I'm hopeful that it's the season finale. I think it might be the season finale, but I don't know for sure. So you will see cycles of this, right? And so we can say, oh, well, this already happened. This happened in 8th century BC and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah, you could say that. But then we also have the book of Revelation, and the book of Revelation in Revelation 18, it talks about Babylon falling again, right? So Babylon falling is a cycle that's happened a couple times now, right? Damascus has been decimated, but it's never ceased to be a city. It's definitely been attacked and had issues, but it hasn't ceased to be a city. So I believe that there's minor fulfillments of these, and then they get fulfilled more and more and more and more. So you know how Yeshua says he came to fulfill, not to abolish, but to fulfill, right? Fulfill means to make fuller. So you can have a fulfillment of a prophecy. So like we had a fulfillment of Passover, right? We had the fulfillment of Passover the first time. Let's talk about the fulfillment of Tabernacles, actually. Now, most people understand Passover better. Let's do Passover. So you have the first fulfillment of Passover when you have the Passover lamb, right? And then you have the future fulfillment of Passover when they entered the land. So there was even two fulfillments of Passover. There was one at the Exodus when they left Egypt, and then there was another fulfillment of Passover when they entered the land. It was Passover when Joshua and the people crossed into the land to go to Jericho, right? That was Passover as well. And then there's a fulfillment of Passover when Yeshua comes, right? And dies on the cross and is risen and does the work of the cross, okay? I don't want to say he died on the cross and then not speak about him being risen as well, okay? So you have that fulfillment. And then you have the fulfillment of Passover that you all had. You all had a fulfillment of Passover when you believed. When you recognized Yeshua died on the cross as your Passover lamb, you had a fulfillment of Passover. Then you might have had another fulfillment of Passover when you realized that it was Passover, not Easter, and you entered a new phase of your growth in the walk, and you crossed over into understanding that the Torah still is relevant, that all scripture is relevant. And you had another type of Passover. And so these are fulfillments. They're making it fuller and fuller and fuller and fuller and fuller, right? There's still fulfillments to come. So we can have a prophecy fulfilled a little bit, and then there's a fuller meaning coming, and then there's a fuller meaning, and then there's a fuller and fuller and fuller until, is there an end to it? I don't know. I guess we'll have the millennial reign, and that will be a type of end to it, but I think we'll still be learning and growing in the millennium, right? So that's why you have all these different fulfillments. And so that's why you have Isaiah, Babylon falling, matches Revelation, Babylon falling. They're the same themes, different fulfillments, greater fulfillments. Does that make sense? So when Yeshua says, I did not come to abolish, I came to make full, he's bringing in fullness all the time. You are not complete yet. You are still being fulfilled. You are still Heavenly Father, I just want to pray for Seth, and I pray, Father, that you heal his heart and rebuke all anger from him. Father, help to find the root of bitterness and anger that is residing deep within, whether it be from childhood or something in the past. And I pray, Father, that you'll remove that root of anger in Yeshua's mighty name. Amen. Okay, so let's get into it, or we're going to be here all day. Isaiah 13. An oracle concerning Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amoz saw. On a bare hill, raise a signal. Cry aloud to them. Wave a hand for them to enter the gates of the nobles. I myself have commanded my consecrated ones. I have summoned my mighty men to execute my anger. My proudly exulting ones, or those who exalt my majesty. So he actually summoned mighty men to be righteously angry on his behalf. That's interesting, Seth, that you just felt like you were always angry. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know your struggles, but maybe you're righteously angry. I don't know. The sound of a tumult is on the mountains, of a great multitude. The sound of an uproar of kingdoms, of nations gathering together. Jehovah of hosts is mustering a host for battle. They come from a distant land, from the end of the heavens. Jehovah and the weapons of his indignation will to destroy the whole land. To destroy the whole land. Or it says earth. See also verse 9. Wail, for the day of Jehovah is near. The day of Jehovah is near. So the day of Jehovah is a reference that often is repeated. So it's the day that Jehovah acts. Like the moment that he acts, so enough is enough. He says enough is enough, and he acts. That is the day of Jehovah. It could be the final day, could be one fulfillment of it, or it could be multiple fulfillments of it. So there's a day in which Jehovah acted was the Exodus. So he acted during the Exodus, and that was the day Jehovah was near, right? And then there's a final day of Jehovah. As destruction from the Almighty, Hebrew words for destruction. Oh, there's a Hebrew word play here. Destruction from the Almighty, it will come. Shade, shod shade. Do you guys want to see this Hebrew word pun? Okay, so Isaiah 13:6. There was this thing going on around about how Yehovah means I will cause destruction. Yeah. And people were like looking at it like a negative thing. Like, yeah, that's scriptural. It's scriptural that he will be a destroyer. Here it is right here. Now, that's not quite how Hebrew works, but it is interesting that people thought that was so negative. There's a lot of references in scripture where Yehovah destroys in order to cleanse, right? Isaiah 13:6. Shod Shade. Shod Shade. Okay, so look at this here. I don't know if you can see it. You can see it if you're on the YouTube. Okay, so here is, I don't know why my cursor isn't lining up. Showed. So where I have highlighted right here, showed destruction, mi shade. Showed mi shade, Almighty. So you see how showed and shade, it's like a little rhyme in there. So the Almighty will bring destruction. As the destruction of the Almighty will come, shod shade. Therefore all hands will feeble, become limp. Therefore all hands will become limp, and every human heart will melt. Hearts will melt. Remember that reference? I think that's in Revelation as well. Their hearts will melt when they see what is coming upon the earth. I'm not sure what verse that is, but you guys can put in the comments. All hands will be feeble, and every human heart will melt. They will be dismayed. Pangs and agony will seize them. They will be in anguish like a woman in labor. They will look aghast at one another. Their faces will be aflame. Behold, the day of Jehovah comes, cruel with wrath and fierce anger, to make the land a desolation and to destroy its sinners from it. Remember how we talked about in Isaiah 58. Isaiah 58. Let's go back. If you do XYZ, break the yoke, cover the naked, all of that. If you do XYZ, Jehovah will guide you continually and satisfy your desire in scorched places and make your bones strong, and you will be like a water garden. Okay, so he will take care of you, even if you're amidst scorched places and you're in the midst of all this, the wrath and the fierce anger. And I'm not saying that we're appointed to wrath, because he will satisfy our desire in scorched places, right? And even if the land is being made a desolation, if the land around you is being made a desolation, but you are in this place where you have done Isaiah 58 and you really figured that out, then he's going to destroy the sinners from the land. He's not going to destroy you, right? Because he said he will satisfy your desire in scorched places. He'll make sure you have enough that you are okay, even if you're in scorched places. Think about that. How amazing that would be. You're just walking around like the world is like on fire. You're good. It always reminds me of the fiery furnace with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, right? They're in the fiery furnace. They're fine. Yeshua's with them. They're good. They're not on fire. Why? Because they had figured this out, right? They're abiding in him. They have that holy fire, so that you can't burn what's already burning, right? To make the land a desolation and to destroy its sinners from it. For the stars of the heaven and their constellations will not give their light. So has this happened? We still have stars in the heavens and we still have constellations. The sun will be dark at its rising and the moon will not shed its light. We hear this reference in the Gospels as well, and the letters. And I will punish the world for its evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will put an end to the pomp of the arrogant and lay low the pompous pride of the ruthless. So all of this stuff that you're discovering about these ruthless people right now, this is Yah's promise. I will put an end to the pomp of the arrogant. I will lay low the pompous pride of the ruthless. He's going to put an end to it. I will make people more rare than fine gold. There's not going to be many people left standing by the time this is all done. I will make people more rare than fine gold, and mankind than the gold of Ophir. Ophir is just a place where there's a lot of gold. Therefore, I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken out of its place, and the wrath of Jehovah of hosts in that day of his fierce anger. And like a hunted gazelle, or like a sheep with none to gather them, each will turn to his own people, and each will flee to his own land, and whoever is found will be thrust through, and whoever is caught will fall by the sword. Revelation language here too. Those who go into captivity shall go into captivity. Those who are meant to die by the sword will die by the sword. This is Revelation language as well. Their infants will be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses will be plundered. Their wives ravished. So yeah, it'll be a dark time. Behold, I'm stirring up Medes against them, who have no regard for silver and do not delight in gold. Medes is, if I recall, son of Japhet, hostile power, land of people. So it's a land and from the area of Japhet. Should we look at a map really quick here? Iranian, ancient Iranian people, son of Japhet, towards the Caspian Sea, east of Armenia and Assyria. So basically all that Persia, Assyria, upper area. I don't know if you guys can see this. Okay, so here you got Jerusalem. And then this is like old Babylon, kind of that Babylon belt right there. So that's what it's talking about. Behold, I'm stirring up Medes against them, who have no regard for silver and have no delight in gold. So for them, it's not about the silver or the gold. It's about just pure hate and nastiness. Their bows will slaughter the young man. They will have no mercy on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes will not pity children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms and the splendor and pomp of the Chaldeans, will be like Sodom and Gomorrah when God overthrew them. So all of it will be destroyed. It will never be inhabited or lived in for all generations. Okay, so Satan's little season people, millennial reign people, has this happened? Because we've had people living in those areas. People live there now, right? It will never be inhabited or lived in for all generations after this final happening. No Arab will pitch his tent there. Okay. So this has not happened, right? This is why I have such a problem with the Satan's little season theology, is because they don't actually read the scriptures. Like all you have to do is read Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and you will, Satan's little season theory will be completely destroyed for you, because a lot of this stuff has not come to its fullness yet. It hasn't been fully fulfilled yet. It will never be inhabited or lived in for all generations. No Arab will pitch his tent there. No shepherds will make their flocks lie down there. But wild animals will lie down there, and their houses will be full of howling creatures. There ostriches will dwell, and there wild goats will dance. Hyenas will cry in its towers, and jackals in the pleasant places. Its time is close at hand, and its days will not be prolonged. Okay, so what's really interesting, I saw this post from a guy talking about how these are all African animals, and that's really, really fascinating. Like these animals don't typically live that far north. But that also makes me think of like how much things may have shifted over the years, right? Because animals migrate, they go up and down, they do all sorts of stuff, and they follow weather patterns, and we've had changing of weather patterns. So who knows? Do we have, I haven't looked this deep into it, but it is interesting. Like there's no, ostriches are native to Africa. Lions are native to Africa. Like all of these animals that are listed in the Bible are native to Africa. Do with that what you will, right? So, like I can't deny that. Like, so I don't know. I come from a place with that is like, oh, that's interesting. That's pretty interesting. Now, do we have, is there any Babylon? So I think there is Babylon images of lions in artifacts. So maybe, yeah, so there is lions, and were they imported? Because there's lion images in Babylon and Mesopotamia. So have the animals just moved and migrated? Or is something off with the maps? I don't know. I don't put anything past anyone anymore. Like, yeah, Ishar's Gate had lions. So they had lions around. But their lions aren't natural to there now, are they? I don't think so. Okay, so let's look up ostriches. Sorry, side quest, guys. Ostriches. I can't spell it. That's okay. That's what Google's for. Ostriches in Babylon. Artifacts. So you don't just want to look up like what people say. You want to see the actual artifacts. This is where the saints thing comes in too. Like people are like, oh, the saints, this and that. Well, where's the original record? Where's the source document that you got this information from? How far back did it go? Okay, so this is just like a research. This is how you learn how to research, you guys. Okay. You don't research by looking at the surface. You research by finding the oldest document and then working your way forward. Okay, so when you're going back pre-Yeshua times, you want to look for artifacts, carvings, cave drawings, scrolls. How far back does the information go? Because you could have information crop up later. That's why the Gospels of, like the Gospel of Mary and all these other gospels, why are they not considered valid? They're not considered valid because they popped up like so many years later that they're obviously just made up. Okay. That's why St. Valentine was made up. There was no historical records about him during the time that he supposedly lives, but then 1,000 years later, don't quote me on that, I don't recall how many years later, this tale of St. Valentine cropped up. And what it is, when that stuff is happening, what it is the Roman Church trying to overtake pagan festivals and Christianize them, but also leading people into icon worship, which is idolatry. Okay. So it's this subtle sleight of hand. It's this really, and it's a lot of it is politically motivated. And you can see it in politics today. People will say the name of Jesus. They'll get up on a stage and sing the name of Jesus and say this and say that, but their actions do not match their words. The way that they're living, the true repentance is not apparent in the way that they're living, in the way that they're acting. You do not see the change of Christ in them. Okay. Why do they do this? Well, because it's really good for politics. It's really good to control the people. When you, whatever religion whatever religion they aspire to, you just position yourself in that religion, and then you can control the people, and you can still move, and because you want to control the people, because that's where the money and the power is, right? That's why they do it. That's why you have politicians, you're like, well, he claims the name of Jesus, but he doesn't act like he really believes. Well, yeah, because he's manipulating you, he's gaslighting you, he's using the name to get your support. He, she, they, whoever, they're using the name to placate the population so that they can maintain power. Because if they didn't do that, they couldn't maintain power. Right? Ancient Rome was really, really good at this. Ancient Rome wrote the books on this. Okay. And so why do you have St. Valentine's Day? Well, because there was a Roman feast called Lutheria or something like that. And Lutheria was this like weird Roman feast about a dog and a wolf and all this other stuff. And the people loved it and the people wanted to keep it, but they're like, well, we got to Christianize it because there are a lot of Christians now. How do we get the pagans and Christians to do the same thing? Well, we'll slap a saint on it. And then they make up a saint and they slap the saint on the holiday. And then they make an icon and you worship the icon. And nobody fact checks, because back then you couldn't fact check, right? You had to just believe the church. They're the only ones that had the information, right? And so that's why this all happens. It's all political. It's all about political control. Side rant. Okay, ostriches in Babylon. So if you want to find out information and see and verify it, go back to the oldest source that you can and try to Lupercalia, yeah. So you want to go back to the oldest source you can, find carvings, find documents, find art, whatever, and verify that. Okay. Because a lot of times things will crop up later and they won't be legit. Images. So we do seem to have some images. Where's this one from? Carved it on 3 pyramids. We do seem to have some ostrich images in Babylon with the pyramids. Pyramids are Egypt, though. The ostraca of Del. The other thing about this stuff is animal, like remember they say like unicorn. Unicorn could mean a rhinoceros, right? So a lot of people use this like the Bible's not true. There's no such thing as unicorns. It means one horn. It could be a rhinoceros or whatever, you know. Could be a narwhal, you know. Not likely, but you get my point. So I'm trying to find the article on this. So some of these animals might not be like your modern day ostrich that you understand. Just looking through. This looks like an ostrich. What's this? Anyways. Babylon artifacts, ostriches. Just want one. Ancient Orient Museum of Istanbul. Yeah, these look like here's a unicorn. As I said that, here's a unicorn in the ancient artifact. The Ancient Orient Museum Istanbul has an artifact of a unicorn. So maybe they did exist. Anyways, you could spend all day looking this stuff up. I just wanted to point that out to you. So the animals, maybe they moved, maybe they migrated. That is known to happen. We all know that. Even on North America, we've had animals that have migrated south or north, depending on the weather, or like they move. So if Jerusalem and that area became a desert, right, all of those animals would have to leave and go south or north, depending on where there was food for them. So animals will obviously leave and go where there's food. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out for you guys. You do your own research. All right, verse 21, Isaiah 13, verse 21. But wild animals will lay down there, and their houses will be full of howling creatures. Their ostriches. Oh, interesting. So we're going on this. We went on all this side rant, and there's a footnote here that I didn't look at. The footnote is or owls. Or owls. Remember how I just said sometimes they're not sure what these words meant, and this is common because the language was so old, they weren't sure exactly. And so it says ostriches, but the footnote is it could be owls. There you go. And there the wild goats will dance. Hyenas will cry in its towers and jackals in the pleasant palaces. Its time is close at hand, and its days will not be prolonged. Isaiah 14, one of my favorite. For Jehovah will have compassion on Jacob and again choose Israel, and I will set them on their own land, and sojourners will join them, Levi to them, Lawe. We talked about this last week. Sojourners will join them and attach themselves to the house of Jacob. Graft in. They're grafted in. And what are they grafted into? The house of Jacob. What's the house of Jacob? Israel. Okay. Not separated, not a separate Christian church, not a separate Gentile church, grafted in. And the people will take them and bring them from their place, and the house of Israel will possess them in Jehovah's land as male and female slaves, servants, slaves. Don't think of it as chattel slavery. Think of it as like you have a job, you do a job, you're a servant. They will take captive those who were their captors and rule over those who oppress them. Okay? Ruling over somebody doesn't mean you naturally will oppress them back. In the Torah, it talks about not being like that. Just as you were captives in Egypt and you were slaves in Egypt, when you have servants and when you have in the future, you are a ruler, do not act the same way. This is why it's important to study the whole Torah and not just pluck verses, because then you will misunderstand this. When Jehovah has given you rest from your pain and turmoil and the hard service in which you are made to serve, you will bring up this taunt against the king of Babylon. How the oppressor has ceased and the insolent fury has ceased. Jehovah has broken the staff of the wicked. So the staff is like the power. You know how like a witch has a staff, a Hollywood staff? And what do you do to take the witch's power? You break it. Same idea. Jehovah has broken the staff of the wicked, the matah, the rod, the tribe of the wicked, and the scepter of rulers. You know what a scepter is, right? That struck the peoples in wrath with unceasing blows and ruled the nations in anger with unrelenting persecution. The whole earth is at rest and quiet, and they break forth into singing. The cypresses rejoice at you. The cedars of Lebanon sing. Since you are laid low, no woodcutter comes up against us. Do we need to have a talk about Christmas trees? So when the king of Babylon falls, the cypresses rejoice because since we are laid low, no woodcutter comes up against us. What is the symbol of the king of Babylon? Sheol beneath is stirred up to meet you when you come. It rouses its shades to greet you, all who were leaders of the earth. It raises from their thrones all who are kings of the nations. All of them will answer and say to you, you too have become as weak as we. So what is the symbol of Babylon falling? All the kings are going to be weak. We're going to start seeing them for who they are, as weak, disgusting people that are doing these evils. And they will start to be weakened. And we see this happening right now. It's been happening for the last few years, but it's really the last little bit here. It's been interesting. You have become like us. Your pomp is brought down to Sheol. The sound of your harps. Maggots are laid as a bed beneath you, and worms are your cover. The sound of your harps, what does that remind you of? Revelation 18. So after we read this, go read Revelation 18 today. Where's the harps in there? I knew there was harps in here. There he goes. Revelation 18:21. Then the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, so will Babylon, the great city, be thrown down with violence and will be found no more. And the sound of the harpists and musicians and the flute players and trumpeters will be heard in you no more. And the craftsmen of any craft will be found in you no more. And the sound of the mill will be heard in you no more, and the light of the lamp will be shone in you no more, and the voice of the bridegroom and bride will be heard in you no more. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth. Empros. So your merchants is the word in Greek, empros, like emperor, were the great ones of the earth, and all the nations were deceived by your pharmakia, your sorcery pharmakia. And in her was found the blood of the prophets and the saints and all who had been slain on the earth. Isaiah 13:11. Your pomp is brought down to Sheol. The sound of your harps. The sound of your harps. The maggots are laid. The sound of your harps. The maggots are laid as a bed beneath you. The worms are your covers. So similar language is what I'm saying. Isaiah 14:12. Oh, how you have fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn. Oh, how you have been cut, or how you are cut down like a tree cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. In your heart you said, I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God, and I will set my throne on high, and I will sit on the mount of the assembly, the appointed place of the meeting, the moed. A moed is a time and place where you meet Jehovah. The Sabbaths are moed. Lucifer wants to sit on the Sabbath, and he wants to take that over and divert worship to him. He wants to take what God designed as to worship God and change it so that you are worshiping him by default. That's why he switches everything up. That's why he creates Christmas with a Christmas tree, which is a symbol of the king of Babylon. Don't believe me? Daniel 4, Isaiah 14. The Christmas tree is a symbol of the king of Babylon. Why did he prop this up and get all these Christians to divert their worship to Christmas while ignoring all of God's other days? Because he wants to have the worship. He wants to be the creator. He wants to sit above God and steal the worship. That's why. It's a trick. It's a scam. I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of the assembly, the moed. I will sit on the mount of the congregation in the far reaches of the north. Who's from the North Pole? Satan Claus. The Satan Claus is from the North Pole. In this section I just read to you, we have cut down cedars. We have fake holy days to get the congregation to worship on fake holy days. And then we have the North, where Satan Claus is from. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. I'm just reading it. In the far reaches of the north, I will ascend from the heights of the clouds. Where does Santa Claus come from when he's coming to your house? I will ascend from the heights of the clouds, and I will make myself like the Most High. Are you naughty? Are you nice? Are you good? Are you bad? He's always watching you. I will make myself like the Most High. It's so obvious. I don't know why we still have to debate it with Christians. I don't know. It's really obvious. But you were brought down to Sheol, to the far reaches of the pit. Those who see you will stare at you and ponder over you. And this is the man that made the whole earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world like a desert, who overthrew its cities and would not let his prisoners go home. All the kings of the nations lie in glory, each in his own tomb, but you are cast out away from your grave like a loathed branch, clothed with the slain, those pierced by the sword, who go down to the stones of the pit like a dead body trampled underfoot. You will not be joined with them in burial, because you have destroyed your land, you have slain your people. May the offspring of evildoers never more be named. May the offspring of evildoers never more be named. What is that a reference to? The generations will die. The generations will stop. You will no longer create new generations to continue the evil doing. It ends. The buck stops there, right? There's a theme throughout scripture, and people get very, very triggered if they don't understand the balance of this, where entire cities are destroyed, right? Everyone in them, even the offspring. Why? Because that child grows up and becomes just like the evildoer. The spirits go down the line, right? The generational spirits go down the line, and that evildoer starts up again the exact same things that are happening now, that are in the Epstein files, that are in all the offspring carry on the traditions of the elders. So why does everything have to be removed and everything have to be burnt with fire? Because you can't have the offspring left to carry on the traditions of the elders, when the traditions of the elders are things like the Epstein files, like the Moloch owl ceremonies and all that stuff. You have to eventually burn the whole thing to the ground, and you can't have the generations carrying on the nonsense. If you want to live in peace on the earth and not have this come up, you'll squish it back. It'll squish back, and then there'll be one surviving offspring. And what'll happen? What'll happen with that surviving offspring? He'll come back and he'll build an army, and all of a sudden you got the same sugar honey iced tea, different day. It'll be the same sugar honey iced tea, different day, right? That's why entire villages had to get dealt with. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's not nice to talk about, but that's why it was happening. People don't understand. They don't want to deal with it. That's the reality of war. That's the reality of the war of evil, good and evil, right? And you also have to remember some of these people are not human, right? Some of them are not human. They weren't supposed to be created in the first place. They're something else, okay? So that's why he's cutting off the name, he's cutting off the generations, he's cutting off the future. It'll be completely prepare slaughter for his sons, the sons of Satan, right? You guys catching this? The sons of the king of Babylon, the sons of Hasatan, the sons of Lucifer. Prepare slaughter for his sons because of the guilt of their fathers, lest they rise and possess the earth and fill the face of the world with cities, right? Same. So unless they do it again, you got to, exactly what I'm trying to explain to you guys. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. But you got, that's why women don't go to war, because we have feelings about feelings, okay? About certain things. We get like, oh, but sometimes the world ain't pretty. You know what I'm saying? Isaiah 14:22. I will rise up against them, declares Jehovah of hosts. I will cut off from Babylon name and remnant, descendants and posterity, declares Jehovah. I will make it a possession of the hedgehog and pools of water, and I will sweep it with a broom of destruction, declares Jehovah of hosts. So when he's done with it, it will cease to exist. There'll be no name of it. There'll be no remnant of it. There'll be no descendants from it. It will be hedgehogs and pools of water. That's all that's going to be left of Babylon. And this should give you hope and peace, because Babylon, the operations of Babylon, is all the stuff that you are hearing about in the Epstein files. It's all the nastiness that you're hearing about. That's what he's doing this to, okay? So don't get in your feelings about it. Don't get in your feelings about it. Isaiah 14:24. Jehovah of hosts has sworn, as I have planned, so it shall be. As I have purposed, so it shall stand. I will break the Assyrian in my land, and on the mountains trample him underfoot, and his yoke shall depart from them, and his burden from their shoulder. So he's setting the captives free, is what that is. The captives of the Babylonians doing this to people. And this is the purpose that it is purposed concerning the whole earth. So why is he doing this? And this is the hand that is stretched out over all the nations. So all the nations, for Jehovah of hosts has purpose, and who will annul it? His hand stretched out, and who will turn it back? So his hand is stretched out to those who repent. In the year that King Ahaz died, came this oracle: rejoice not, O Philistia, all of you, that the rod that had struck you is broken. For the serpent's root shall come forth an adder, and its fruit will be a flying fiery serpent. And the firstborn of the poor will graze, and the needy lie down in safety. I will kill your root with famine, and your remnant it will slay. So basically, the poor and needy will be lifted up. The nasty and the oppressor will be put down. Wail, O gate, and cry out, O city. Melt in fear, O Philistia, all of you, for smoke comes from the north, and there's no straggler in his ranks. So they're sending warfare. Um, yeah, we'll get into that. Isaiah 14:32. What will one answer the messengers of the nation? Jehovah has founded Zion, and in her afflicted her people find, and in her the afflicted of his people find refuge. The afflicted, poor, humble, meek of his people find refuge. An oracle concerning Moab. Because Ar of Moab is laid waste in a night, Moab is undone. Because Ker of Moab is laid waste in a night, Moab is undone. He has gone up to the temple and to Dibon, and to the high places to weep over Nebo and over Medeba. That's a city. Nebo is that's where Moses went up before he entered the land, Mount Nebo. And then Medeba is a city. Moab wails, and on every head is baldness, and every beard is shorn. What is that a symbol of? Heads shorn and beards shorn, heads bald and beard shorn is a symbol of they're in grief, they're wailing and they're grieving. That's what that is. That's what the pagans would do if they lost someone. They would shave their head and they would cut their beard, and they would grieve in that way. In the streets, they wear sackcloth, and on the housetops and in the squares, everyone wails and melts in tears. Heshbon and Eliah cry out, and their voice is heard as far as Jahaz. These are just cities. Therefore, the armed men of Moab cry aloud, and his soul trembles. Who is Moab? Moab are the descendants of Lot's daughters. The Moabites and the Amorites were the descendants of Lot's daughters, and then Ruth was a Moabite, and she was grafted into Israel. So she repented and joined Israel. She decided to follow after the God of Israel, and so she was grafted in. My heart cries out for Moab. Her fugitives flee to Zoar, to Inglath, Shalisha, Shalisha, and for the ascent of Luhith, they go weeping on the road to Horonaim. One day I'll know how to say these words. They raise a cry of destruction. The waters of Nimrim are a desolation. The grass is withered, the vegetation fails, the greenery is no more. Therefore, the abundance they have gained and what they have laid up, they carry away over the brook of the willows. For a cry has gone around the land of Moab. Her wailing reaches Englam. Her wailing reaches Beer Elim. And for the waters of Dimon are full of blood. And for I will bring upon Dibon even more, a lion for those of Moab who escape, for the remnant of the land. So even after all of this, it's all desolate and they're going to escape, then the lions come. After all that, he's like, I'm going to send a lion for them after that. It's a pretty bleak picture, you guys. I think that's it. I think we should stop here. I think we've gone long enough. Oh no, let's do 16. 16 is kind of in line with the same stuff. So let's just finish it. Send the lamb to the ruler of the lamb. Send the lamb to the ruler of the land. Send the lamb. Interesting. From Selah, by way of the desert, from the mount of the daughter of Zion. Like fleeing birds, like a scattered nest, so are the daughters of Moab and the fords of the Arnon. At the fords pass. So fords is a pass at the pass of the Arnon, which is a place. Give counsel, grant justice, and make your shade like night at the height of noon. Shelter the outcasts. Do not reveal the fugitive. This is beautiful, you guys. You're catching this? Let the outcasts of Moab sojourn among you. Okay, you know that group that says that the Moabites can't be redeemed? This absolutely slaughters their whole theology. Just FYI, if any of you guys follow that group that says, oh, the Moabites, Ruth was not actually a Moabite and the Moabites can't be redeemed, this actually slaughters their theology completely. Let the outcasts of Moab sojourn among you and be a shelter to them. From the destroyer, be a shelter from them to them from the destroyer. When the oppressor is no more and the destruction has ceased, and he who tramples underfoot has vanished from the land, then a throne will be established in steadfast love, and I will sit on it in faithfulness in the tent of David. One who judges and seeks justice and is swift to do righteousness. Okay, go back to the beginning. Did you guys catch this? Send the lamb. Send the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah by the way of the desert. It's really interesting that it starts with a lamb and then it talks about sheltering the outcasts of Moab, those who have escaped. From Selah by the way of the desert to the mount of the daughter of Zion, like fleeing birds, like a scattered nest, so are the daughters of Moab. And at the fords, the pass of the Arnon, give counsel, grant justice, make your shade like night in the height of noon, shelter the outcasts. Do not reveal the fugitive. Let the outcasts of Moab sojourn among you, be a shelter to them. From the destroyer. And then it talks about he's establishing his throne after that. Interesting, right? Isaiah 16:6. We have heard the pride of Moab. How proud is he of his arrogance and his pride and his insolence and his idle boasting. He is not right. Therefore, let Moab wail for Moab. Let everyone wail, mourn, utterly stricken, for the raisin cakes of Kirhareseth, raisin cakes of Kirhaseth. That's obviously some kind of deity. Let's look it up. Some of these deities that they mention, like they're so old that there's actually not a lot of information about them. Like sometimes you'll look them up and you won't really find much. Let's look. Kir of Moab. It's a city. Okay, it's a city. Okay, so that's not a deity, it's a city. Ancient city mentioned in the Bible, context, Moabite history. Just another city name. Up in Babylon. All right. Born utterly stricken for the raisin cakes. I thought it was a deity because of the raisin cakes, because often they would offer food to the deities. But just, I guess it was a place of luxury where they ate raisin cakes. For the fields of Heshbon languish, and the vine of Sibmah, and the Lord of the nations have struck down its branches, which reached to Jazer, and strayed at the desert. Its shoots spread abroad and passed over the sea. Again, the tree branching out and covering everything is usually related to a king growing up So the king grows up and the branches, and people feed off the king and the vine and all that stuff, right? It's usually a symbol of the king of Babylon when these trees are mentioned. And when they get cut down, that's a symbol of God enacting judgment on them because they have not been honoring God. They've been evil, and so they get cut down. That's the symbol that is repeated throughout the Old Testament. Its shoots spread abroad and passed over the sea. Therefore I weep, the weeping of Jazer and the vine of Simba. I drench you with my tears, O Heshbon and Ileh, for your summer fruit and your harvest, the shout has ceased. And the joy and the gladness is taken from the fruitful field, and the vineyards, no songs are sung, no cheers are raised, no tender treads tread out the wine in the presses. I have put an end to the shouting, therefore my inner parts moan like a lyre for Moab, and my innermost self for Kir Harseth. And when Moab presents himself, and when he wearies himself on the high places, when he comes to his sanctuary to pray, he will not prevail. And in this word that Jehovah spoke concerning Moab in the past, but now Jehovah has spoken, saying, in 3 years, like the years of the hired worker, the glory of Moab will be brought into contempt, in spite of all his great multitude, and those who remain will be very few and feeble. Isaiah 17, an oracle concerning Damascus. Behold, Damascus will cease to be a city, and it will become a heap of ruins. Okay, so Damascus has been attacked many, many times, but it's still a city to this day, as far as I understand. We know that, right? Today. So has it ceased to be a city thus yet? No. It still exists as a city. So it's not until everything is complete, like fully complete, that it will cease to be a city. There you have it, still a city. That looks kind of not like a city, but that's not Damascus. So there you have Damascus. Still a city. It has not ceased to be a city, as far as I understand. All right, just pointing that out. An oracle concerning Damascus. Behold, Damascus will cease, complete, be done, being a city, and will become a heap of ruins. So the cities of Ar are deserted. They will be for flocks, which will lie down, and none will make them afraid. So where is that today? Let's look it up. Has this happened? If you want to disprove Satan's little season theology, all you have to do is read the Bible. Like you'll just like constantly be disproving it, by the way. And that's how I know that they don't read the Bible, because if they just read this stuff, they would know, like, this hasn't happened, that hasn't happened. Maps. It's believed to be located in modern day Jordan, situated on the eastern side of Jordan River near the Arnon River. And it serves as a natural boundary between the territories of the Moabites and the Amorites. The exact location is debated among scholars. It is generally accepted to be the territory of the tribe of Reuben. Okay, so it's not necessarily an obvious city today, but Damascus is an obvious city today. The cities of Aru are deserted, so that may have happened. They will be for flocks which lie down, and none will make them afraid. The fortress will disappear from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus. And the remnant of Syria will be like the glory of the children of Israel. The remnant of Syria will be like the glory of the children of Israel, declares Jehovah of hosts. And in that day, the glory of Jacob will be brought low, and the fat of his flesh will grow lean. And it shall be as when the reaper gathers standing grain, and his arms harvest the ears of the grain. The ears of the grain are like the little pods. They kind of curl up and look like ears. And when one gleans the ears of grain in the valley of Rephaim, gleanings will be left in it. And when the olive tree is beaten, 2 or 3 berries at the top of its highest bough, 4 or 5 on the branches of a fruit tree, declares Jehovah of Israel. And in that day, a man will look at his maker, and his eyes will turn to look on the Holy One of Israel, and he will not look to the altars, the work of his hands, and he will not look to what his own fingers have made, either the ashram or the altars of incense. Either the ashram, so you guys know what ashram are? The sacred poles. They're all over the place in many different forms, or the altars of incense. Who has many altars of incense? Can you think of a church that has many altars of incense? There's many of them. Let's just see what comes up. Okay, so there's like the temple one. Let's look at today. Altar of incense today. It's just going into the Bible stuff. I'm just curious. Yeah, it's just giving me the Bible stuff. I know in Hinduism and like a lot of those temples in Asia, they have a lot of that. Yeah, here you go. Right? You guys know, like this is a common thing, right? Altars of incense. Temples, and I think it's Hinduism. Is it Hinduism or Buddhism? Probably both that do that. Then there's, so I, like, you guys know, if you've been with me for a while, that I used to go to Catholic church. They had a lot of that too. They had a lot of incense, if I recall correctly. Yeah, they had this thing. So they had this thing. Have you guys seen this? Like, it's like a big smoker thing, and then they will light it, and then they'll kind of like put it out on the crowd. So they have lots of Catholic. Yeah, here it is. And they do this, and then they like put it out on the crowd as you are at. Very common in the Catholic Church. I think it's like every mass they do that pretty much. And notice how they wear purple and scarlet robes. FYI. Purple and scarlet robes. Okay. In that day, man will look to his maker. His eyes will look on the Holy One of Israel. He will not look to the altars, the work of his hands. He will not look at what his own fingers have made, either the ashram or the altars of incense. So all of this stuff that people do is their own creation. right? While ignoring what Father asks us to do, which is just walk in obedience to his commands, walk with him. They focus on all this stuff that has nothing to do with any of it. It's the work of human hands. In that day, their strong cities will be like deserted places in the wooded heights and hilltops, in which they deserted because of the children of Israel. There will be desolation. Desolation means it's just absolutely a ruin, a wasteland, nothing left. For you have forgotten the God, Elohim of your salvation, Yeshua, and have not remembered the rock of your refuge. Who is the rock? Is it Peter? Is Peter the rock? No, Yeshua is the rock. Just means rock. The rock, it's like capital rock, the rock of your refuge. Therefore, though you plant pleasant plants and you sow the vine of a stranger, the vine branch of a stranger, though you make them grow on that day that you plant them and make them blossom in the morning that you sow, yet the harvest will flee away. And in that day of grief and in the day of grief and incurable pain. This is a Deuteronomy 28 reference. So one of the curses in Deuteronomy 28 is that you will plant trees and you'll never eat the fruit of them. You will plant gardens and you will never get to eat of the garden. That's like a curse of disobedience to Jehovah. Isaiah 17:12. Ah, the thunder of many peoples. They thunder like the thundering of the sea. Ah, the roar of nations. They roar like the roaring of mighty waters. The nations roar like the roaring of many waters, but he will rebuke them and they will flee away. Chased like the chaff on the mountains before the wind, and the whirling dust before the storm. At evening time, behold, terror. Before morning, there are no more. This is the portion of those who loot us. This is the lot of those who plunder us. Okay, we're going to stop there because this probably goes on for another couple chapters. So we'll just stop there for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone who showed me love this week. I definitely appreciated that for my injury sake. It's been a lot less stressful, not worrying about things so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Get on my email list, link in bio. All the links in my bio if you want anything else from me. It's all there. All right. I love you guys. I'm going to stop the recording and stop the YouTube and the Zoom. And then we can talk on TikTok if you want. All right. Let me stop this. All right. Thank you. See you later on